Yeah. Looking back, I feel like I could have changed bits at the end to make it more dramatic, but as
Oh,
a
there's
basic
like,
match,
are you ever satisfied with any match you've ever had though? There's always, you always look back and go,
oh,
oh, I wish I'd just hadn't done that, or I'd done a different spot there, or like
um,
I don't think anybody's ever satisfied 100% with their matches.
no, I don't feel like I've ever been 100% satisfied, but with that match specifically, there's two or three spots where I know we could have made it more dramatic if we had done different things.
Yeah.
And like otherwise, like our 8 man, I feel like, oh, this didn't work, but I don't know what we could have done. With the Dan McGee match, it's like, oh, maybe I should have done a submission, and then that could have added drama because I've worked you back the whole match.
Yeah.
And actually, I think I called the majority of that match, which is why I might be proud of that one specifically. Um, that was the first time I felt like we collaborated on a match and it went well, as opposed to usual most 8 man or 6 mans I'm in. There's one person calling the whole thing.
Yeah. And you're just following the lead.
Yeah, I think like our match worked as well as it could have. Like your debut match, I went back and watched that after you said that was your debut match, and that does not feel like a debut match for you.
Yeah. Well,
That,
again, I think I was well protective in that it showed my positives and hid my negatives.
yeah, um,
All I had to do was look angry and intense. I did hit a beautiful spine buster.
you did, and a great back body drop,
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
which, yeah,
sometimes when
I,
I feel down, I go back and I look at that spine buster and back body drop, and cheers me up a little bit. I mean, things aren't so terrible after all. That's how
yeah,
beautiful those moves were.
yeah. Um, so, how about other members of your family? Is it just your parents and brother that know about it, or have you got other
Am
relatives that follow?
I still in the closet from my other
Mm,
relatives? No, everyone knows. Co-workers is of course the most, in my opinion, the most awkward people to tell, especially when you work in a very corporate setting like I do.
very
Working for,
quote unquote professional.
yeah, it's a private bank, so they expect their employees probably not to be, you know, prancing around in spandex trunks at the weekend in front
Mm,
of screaming fans. But you know what? Honestly, every single like I don't hide it from people at work because I've got that nightmare feeling like somebody will look on YouTube one day. Hold on
yeah,
a minute, that's Ben from the department downstairs. What's he doing? Like, can you imagine like the I know I get spread round work on like the videos. So I
yeah,
like straight up tell people um, at the first opportunity it comes up. Yeah, actually, everybody's like they think I'm like out of my mind, but it's always positive,
hmm,
and they're always very curious. Being, but that's the general normal person reaction I get nowadays, which is it's nice to have positivity and curiosity rather than dismissiveness and like just general confusion.
have they looked up your matches?
Uh, I'm sure a couple of them have.
Yeah,
They mostly look up my pictures online, which again is like, you wouldn't show a picture of yourself to a co-worker in your pants, and this is
yep,
exactly like exactly what this is. It's like, oh, this probably crosses the lines of good taste. I mean, you can't like say you've ever seen, I don't know, Philip from accounting in his underwear, but you can say you've seen me in my underwear. It's just weird line with co-workers.
yeah.
How about yourself?
So my co-workers all know about it because it's one of those things that I've never hid it. So if people are like, "Oh, what do you do at the weekend?" I always said, "Oh, I'm training." I wouldn't go, "Oh, I'm professional wrestling." I just say I'm training and that. And then occasionally, like because I post about it on Facebook, they'll find it through there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, they've been. they always have questions, like, because obviously some people are, oh, did you like this wrestling? Like a lot of them were fans in the early 90s, so they always go back to SummerSlam 92.
Oh, Bulldog versus.
Yeah, they always ask about that pay-per-view.
Oh, really?
Yep. Well, that was huge over here. Yeah.
You know, I never really realized like the magnitude of that match, and
I think it was the whole pay-per-view. Like the whole WWF was super big over here in the UK then, as opposed to America where it dipped. Here it sort of boomed.
yeah, so it was almost like a national phenomenon, like an England World Cup game would be.
It was in newspapers. Like it was that big. It was in newspapers. It was everywhere. Then it was either that or people would ask me about the bushwhackers. I don't know why the bushwhackers are so big over here, and I don't know why that is. So yeah, my co-workers always knew about it. Other family members know about it. Most of them don't care. My nan has watched my matches on YouTube
Oh, bless.
because my brother films them and then sends them to her.
Oh, is she excited about it? Is she very supportive?
Yeah, she thinks it's like quirky, I think would be the best word. She's like, oh, he does the wrestling. It's quirky and that.
Quirky.
I think the first match she watched was my 2-on-1 against Timo, and she didn't like it because it was a squash.
Oh, I was going to say.
Oh, we got no offense.
Yeah, I was probably going
to
guess who won that match and
how quickly.
Decisively so, yeah.
Yeah, and I got hurt in that match, and she didn't like that. And then, but she watched what other matches did she see? She's seen 3 of them, and I can't remember. She's seen the Dan McGee one. She liked that.
Oh,
I can't remember the other one. But yeah, so she's always been like super into it. I say super into it. She's like, she will always be like, oh, you had fun, so that's all that matters, and you're alive, so that's all that matters.
See, my like parents' first reaction to any of my matches is, "Did you win?" I'm trying to explain kayfabe. Like, it's not important if I won or lost. It's if I had a good match or a bad match. I don't really think they understand what a good match and a bad match is. They just, oh, if he won, then that must be a good sign. So hooray!
I like that your parents ask that question because my dad always asks, "Are you losing again?" Yes, Dad. He's like, "Are you going to take the pin?" I'm like, "Probably, Dad." So yeah. On what I used to write down all my matches and count them, but I sort of stopped last year because I got tired of writing. I did this match and I lost.
Well, Chris Jericho apparently he's got a book coming out that is literally just an enormous list of all of his matches. But he has written them all down since his very first match, and he's publishing a book with all of them in it.
Yeah, I know a couple wrestlers that have binders where they have them all, and they sometimes keep ticket stubs in that. My brother keeps the tickets from all the matches I do.
Yeah, if I'm on the poster or the flyer, I always keep a copy of that. I sent that to my parents and said, "Hey, frame this and put it up in the living room." My first poster that I appeared on. So
I have the poster from my debut show, but I've never been on a poster.
Only a matter of time, Aiden. Only a matter of time.
Yeah.
As you said last week, like postering's pretty much going to be on the way out because it's not as effective as online media. But
no, and it's kind of sad because the posters, I feel like some of them are really good.
Oh, yeah, some of them are. Do you even know who designs them? Because they do an excellent job.
I don't actually. I kind of wish I did, so I could say, "Put me on the poster."
There are some truly terrible British indie wrestling posters out there.
That was going to be another topic in itself. Was British that's a pet peeve of mine because they are what put me off going to local shows here.
Well, just because they looked really cheap and really badly photoshopped and cut out images.
Well, you'd get the quote-unquote real American wrestling shows. I'll go into it now, but we'll go into it in pet peeves again. But very briefly, I'll talk about it, which is it's always blokes that you'd find in a pub. They're always fat and bold, and
Yeah.
they're doing the whole thing where they flex forward and go bleh with their tongue sticking out, and it'd be a row of just all these dudes, and I'd be like,
Oh
ugh.
my god, I didn't realize so now, but you're absolutely right. That's a real like cliche of a British wrestling poster.
And it'd be like the pub brawler, and they'd just go bleh down the thing, and then it'd be like, oh, starring Fake Kane and Gangrel and the APB, and I'd be like,
Yeah,
oh,
there's
this
always
looks,
a big overweight tag team.
yeah,
They're quite often they're the champions, and it's two
yeah,
big overweight guys with long hair or whatever.
and that's what put me off British, quote unquote, British professional wrestling, because it was always called American wrestling, and it was always these guys that you, like I'd say, you find in your local pub, and like people talk about, oh, wrestlers are too skinny and this and that, and it's like, yeah, but as a kid, I look at all these really overweight guys and be like, they're just fat.
Yeah.
And they just walk around and they do punches and kicks. And I never want to go to those indie shows. But now I feel like they are better for the most part. I have seen some promotions where it is someone's used Microsoft Paint.
Yep.
But yeah, no, Revolution Pro and our coaches have been super good at making the best posters they can. I feel like still they're not as good as they could be.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it gets across the idea that it's a sport. It gets across the idea more that it's a show.
I think that's them trying to play. They're trying to play like both sides. They kind of want the casual fan, but they also kind of want the fans who are familiar with British indies like what you call it, Progress, and other ones. So yeah, I think they have a tough time trying to balance on that line of, hey, it's fun for all the family, but also if you enjoy, a good bit of British wrestling from the independents, there's also guys like that there. So
yeah,
it's a difficult spot to be in.
I'm trying to think like what's the best kind of poster, because like you say, the ones that you get for the like Japanese companies are a bit too sporty, like you say, and it'll look like an MMA show.
Yeah.
And that will, I think, deter some fans.
Like no parent will want to bring their kids to that, so that's a whole like avenue of money that they could be missing out.
Yeah, I feel like NXT when they were at Full Sail and they had like 2015, 16, NXT used to do really good posters, but they never like actually make posters of it. It'd be for social media, but they were always super good because it had, like you say, that mix of it's a sport, but it's also a show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that's something. Yeah, that's a tricky one. That's a topic for another time, though, because yeah.
So do you have any other topics that you want to talk about this week?
I'm trying to think what could relate to family. No, I think that's been good so far. Yeah.
Okay, so I was going to ask you last week. Actually, you said you were watching movies, but we didn't touch on what your favorite spooky movie was.
Oh, ooh.
Actually, your favorite horror movie and your favorite horror game. I forgot to ask you, so I'm asking you now.
Okay, it changes all the time, but today I'd say it's The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, that's up there.
Because that is, I feel like that's the kind of movie I want to watch for the first time again.
It holds up well.
Oh, like you don't know who's the thing. That's so good. It's either that or the first Saw film.
Yeah, criminally underrated. See, because there's been so many sequels, it's just kind of become almost like a joke. Well, not a joke, but
yeah,
the first one still holds up magnificently. It's really low budget as well. I think they made it on shoestring budget. And
yeah, there's a lot of stories behind the production of that film. And again, it's one of those films that I wish I could see for the first time again.
Where the old dude stands up in the room. You think he's been dead the entire time.
That is again, like you say, it's a film that's been tainted by the sequels. Not even tainted by the sequels, tainted by the reputation of its sequels. Like, people think it's mindless gore.
Yeah.
There is no blood in the first film.
No.
And any quote unquote gore isn't on screen. Like, there's 3 quote unquote violent scenes and you don't see anything, but your mind plays a trick on you and makes you think you're seeing it.
It's probably also a side effect of them not having the budget for gory special effects. So that probably was convenient.
One funny story about that film is the director got held up at immigration because he was Australian. And so they couldn't do any pre-production, so they had to go straight into filming, and they had like 2 weeks or something.
Oh, so they're doing so much of it on the fly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my favorite. How about yourself?
Horror films. It's a toss-up between Alien, the original Alien.
Yeah.
Which I don't think. Would you classify that as horror or sci-fi? Though?
No, the first one is definitely a horror film. It just happens to be set in space.
Yeah. And a fantastic little fact about that is they actually hadn't decided on the gender of Ripley until they did the casting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which I think is a real testament to that character. And they always say Ripley is a strong female character, and I think that's absolutely right, because if you can, switch the character with the gender, that's a sign of a good character. And a strong.
She's female. A strong character, yeah, and yeah, I feel like that's something that people get confused with, complicated character. But no, she is Ripley's awesome.
So yeah, see for a toss-up between that or I think the Dawn of the Dead.
Which version?
The non-Zack Snyder one.
That is a good film. That is a very good film.
It's I mean, it looks a little hokey now because of the budget. I mean, Tom Savini was the I don't know if you know Tom Savini, the
oh yeah, of course I do. Master of special effects.
Yeah, he's a special effects magician, if you will, and he does some great horrific special effects on that. I think he actually had a hand in designing Bray Wyatt's mask, apparently.
He did. I was going to bring that up, bringing it back to wrestling. Yes, he did. Because I think it was through Charles Robinson, actually. Because he is a huge horror fan.
Yeah, doesn't he collect horror memorabilia?
Yeah, so I feel like it might have been through him. But yes, he designed the Fiend mask.
And yeah, it makes you think, like, why doesn't WWE bring in, more professionals like that to design, maybe even like guys' ring gear or the design of their sets? I feel like
we should go into that topic one time. Is great wrestling sets, like pay-per-view.
They don't make them like they used to anymore, do they?
They don't make them at all. Yeah, they go
literally
boring.
Whereas back in the day, there would always be a theme. Like there'd be I don't know, for Armageddon, there'd be like tanks and stuff out, and like sandbags, and
that's a topic for another time. Yeah,
we'll save that one. Put that one in the chamber.
Yeah. Have you ever seen? Speaking of zombie films, Return of the Living Dead.
Yep.
The punk one.
That's the one where zombies they don't die if you shoot them in the head. In fact, it's really difficult to kill them.
Yeah, I love that film so much. I thought that was hilarious when I saw that for the first time, and I still laugh at it today. The bit where he puts the pickaxe through the zombie's head.
Yeah.
And it keeps twitching. And he's like, no, get the brain. And the old man leans down and he just goes, I hit the fucking brain. I quote that all the time. That and Train to Busan, actually. Have you seen that?
That one, yeah. That one came out recently. I think it just got a sequel as well, didn't it?
Yes, called, I don't know. I haven't heard good things about that, though, but the Train to Busan is a master film. If anyone listening to this has likes zombie films over, in my opinion, it's the greatest zombie film. It's not my favorite film, but it's the greatest zombie film. It's perfect.
Damn good film.
Oh yeah.
So horror games.
See, when it comes to horror in games, I tend to be more scared by scary elements in non-scary games, like the ninja bit and Psychomantis bits in Metal Gear Solid on
Was
PlayStation
that?
1.
I never played it, but he's like the guy who can tell what games you've played because the game would read the memory card.
Yes, and the boss fight would be he would read your controller inputs and dodge them, so you had to put your controller into the second port.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, like the bits before them, because the game was so stealthy and so calm before then, the fact that it turned and became horror throws me off and makes me feel uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
As opposed to say, I don't know, like a Silent Hill, you go in knowing it's going to be horror.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm expecting it.
Sure, God.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. Would you consider BioShock horror?
Absolutely, yeah.
I'd say BioShock
especially
then.
Well, maybe not the last one, but the first
Yeah.
two, absolutely, where you're stuck in rapture. Yeah, that's definitely.
That again is one of those games. I wish I could play that for the first time, because that was a whole new experience for me when I played that the first time, and I adore that game, that world, the music.
Yep.
And I like the Resident Evil series.
Yeah.
But I feel like that is more action, and I feel like
certainly is now, although it's taken a step back.
If
Resident
you go,
Evil 4 and onwards were definitely more action.
I'd say earlier
horror.
than that as well. If you go back to Resident Evil 2, that is very run and gunny at points.
Oh yeah, definitely compared to the first one.
Yeah, the first one is straight up slow, methodical horror. But yeah, apart from that, to be honest, I don't play that many horror games. But BioShock has to be up there because the atmosphere, second to none.
See, my favorite is the predecessor to BioShock, which was
System Shock.
System Shock 2.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you played that. It probably doesn't hold up very well today at all.
It holds up okay.
Oh, so you've played it?
Yeah, it's on Steam. It takes some getting used to, but yes.
Again, it was just down to pure atmosphere. The voice acting was phenomenal in that game. You're creeping around this derelict spaceship. You have no idea what's happened to the crew, but you just see massive amounts of blood and bodies everywhere, and you get the idea. And it's one of the few games that's made me actually stop playing because it made me feel so anxious. I think it's to do with the way the enemies spawn in it is completely at random. Yes. So you'll think an area is clear of enemies, and you finally breathe a sigh of relief. Because it's one of these games where, much like Resident Evil, you've got very limited health, very limited ammo resources. So every shot counts, and you constantly feel on edge.
You have to be smart with your ammo as well, because certain ammo types work on different enemies.
Yeah, you had like bullet armor-piercing rounds for robots, and fire rounds for like zombies and stuff. So yeah, it was a awesome thinking man's game.
The AI in that did creep me out a lot.
Why is that?
I think it was the tone and the fact that because the graphics aren't great, you sort of fill in the blanks with your imagination.
Yeah.
Which the first Doom I used to play when I was 4 years old. And
it's an appropriate game for a 4-year-old to be playing.
Going back to my dad, I have fond memories of playing that because he would move him about and I'd hit the shoot button.
Oh, amazing.
And I remember that didn't really scare me, but some of the graphics it creeped me out because it was like the wall of faces.
Yeah, well, it's quite demonic. Well, everything in that game is demonic, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think that carried over into System Shock, where it's just the blank face with the voice and the tone and how it speaks to you. It creeps me out.
I think the name Shodan, I think.
Is it Showdown? I thought it began with an A. I can't remember. Do you want me to Google it quickly in
Go
case
on, Google it. Otherwise, it's going to be annoying me for ages. Oh, and the name of that film that I couldn't think of the name of last week.
Yes.
Possessor.
Ah.
Name of it. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
Kind of bit cross between horror and sci-fi. As I say, mind control and assassination and people losing their minds. Very enjoyable British film.
Oh, you're correct. Showdown.
And they did announce that System Shock 3 was in production. But,
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Do you know BioShock was supposed to be a System Shock game, but they were so scared by the lukewarm reception of System Shock 2 that they were kind of forced to make it BioShock.
Yeah.
Because the early builds of it were set in space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I like reading about the making of video games and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like, I almost like prefer that now to actually playing the game, is finding out how they were made. It's
one of the greatest resources for that I found is a magazine called Retro Gamer.
Oh yeah, I know it. Yeah.
They do amazing interviews with.
They like track down guys who appeared on the credits and find out what they're up to now. And
yeah, they recently did Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Oh yeah, well,
so they found the developers, and yeah.
Did any of the original developers work on the remaster? Do you know?
I don't know actually. I've got the magazine here. I haven't opened it yet, but yeah, I like that, and it's a shame that I don't read Japanese, because I'd love to see if there's a Japanese magazine that interviews key developers behind some of my favorite games. But yeah, I have some books that other people have like translated. Like I have the history of the original Super Mario Brothers.
Ooh.
And the history of the making of the Nintendo Wii, which are both, I believe, translated from interviews from Japanese developers.
Yeah.
I find, like you say, I find that almost as interesting as playing the game itself.
Absolutely. And especially if you go way back in the day when development teams were made up of a handful of people, like Rare when they were developing GoldenEye. And it was, I think, like 8 or 9 people, and half of them had never worked on a video game before. Going on to make such a revolutionary game GoldenEye was.
Yeah.
I think their naivety, like we don't know how to make a game, kind of helped them, because it made them, they didn't have any stereotypes of what a first-person shooter should be in their minds. So they just threw loads of ideas at the wall, and some of them became revolutionary.
Yeah, like if you think about shooters before that and shooters afterwards, like GoldenEye introduced reloading. Because before that, it was just infinite. You never reloaded, and enemies would react in different body parts if you hit them there. And I believe there's footage of it somewhere, but the game was actually really gory at first. Like there was a lot of blood in it, but they had to change.
I think Shigeru Miyamoto saw the game and asked if they could tone it down, or if at the end of the level you could see like a clip of all the people who've been shot standing up, and it's being revealed that they were just acting all along, and it's just actors.
Yeah. And also people forget how late after the film it came out.
Yeah, it was well over a year, wasn't it?
2 years almost exactly, yeah. Which was so weird, because that came out 2 years after the film and it was a huge success. Then when they wanted to do, I can't remember which one it was, I want to say Die Another Day,
I think so.
They wanted to do it like a year, it was going to come out a year afterwards, and the EA or whatever was like, no one would buy it because the film's been out a year. It's like, well, GoldenEye, and yeah, that's one of those things I completely understand as someone who's worked in an industry where time and that kind of is relevant.
Yeah.
It's frustrating as hell to get stuff out.
It's a miracle that game was as successful as it was. Like,
Yeah.
Did not set itself up to be a huge success, but yeah.
We
and
should-
then they turned down, I think, the opportunity to make another Bond game because, of course, they wanted to make Perfect Dark and not be limited by the license.
It was supposed to be GoldenEye 2,
Really?
but the license got sold from.
Oh, it got sold. I thought they turned it down.
No, it got sold from whoever it was to Activision when they made The World Is Not Enough. Yeah, it got sold from under them because something had happened. I can't remember the story exactly, but yeah. So they just took the assets they had, which is why I think the briefcase machine gun appears in Perfect Dark. It's because it was supposed to be a Bond gadget.
Oh.
Yeah, so we should do a talk about pro wrestling video games, one podcast.
Yeah, that's definitely that could be a 2 podcast episode because
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love me some wrestling games.
Yeah.
That's another thing we mentioned like last week. Games essentially got us into wrestling.
Yeah.
I feel like that's an avenue that WWE is really, really missing out on to get new fans' eyes on the product.
Exactly. Yes.
Good wrestling game.
Well, we could talk. Do you want to go over it today, or do you want to go over it another time? Or
No, let's save it for another episode because I really want to go really in depth in wrestling games.
Yeah,
but I just feel like so many fans were made wrestling fans through video games, and I can't imagine that happens.
Well, I'll go into it more in depth when we go over the topic, but I feel like then video games were made to be fun to everyone, but now the wrestling video games are targeting wrestling fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I look forward to that. We should get a guest on for that maybe as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we are going to have guests in the near future, hopefully, as well. So
every wrestler who listens,
every wrestler who listens, if you want to be on, getting to Graps with, please
send us money.
Because Spotify isn't doing it for us apparently.
Yeah, we accept check or cash or bank transfer or
basically any Bitcoin or Dogecoin or whatever you want to throw at us, just take it.
Yeah, or just wrestling merch, t-shirts,
Subway gift vouchers.
Nando's.
Oh, love a Nando's. Just like the Great O'Khan loves a good Nando's. So do we.
My brother gets me 40% discount at Nando's.
I remember you telling me. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I go there often for their wings. Nando's could sponsor us, please.
Yeah, if the head of Nando's is listening, please, we'll happily plug your products because we genuinely enjoy them.
And if you want to make a restaurant in Japan, please do so and hire me because I would go there.
I think that could be a big success in Japan.
KFC is like the big thing. Yeah.
Oh, they have KFC for Christmas over there, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, we should get Okan to slam the Colonel as an opening for Nando's. Screw KFC. Have Nando's. Yeah.
Okay. So, what wrestling? Just before we go, what wrestling have you seen recently, or is there anything you?
I'm just about to watch. I actually had started before you messaged me to say that you were ready. Podcast I was just about to watch the Great Okan versus Kazuchika Okada.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I know one of those guys.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to be rooting for the Great Okan.
Who wouldn't?
Because undefeated, as Gideon would say.
Yeah.
You gotta support your buddies. So yeah, Okan all the way. Have you watched anything?
Oh yeah, I watched the very well received Walter versus Dragunov match in NXT UK. Have you heard about this?
Oh, I forgot NXT UK. Oh,
that's okay. I think WWE did half the time as well.
Was it good?
It's.
I imagine with them two, it's going to be a fight.
Yeah, it's your dad would like it. Put it that way. It's a very strung out, hard hitting, I guess, European strong style match, and it's just fantastic.
I have some funny stories about Walter. He's a character.
That's another episode we should do. Is meeting famous guys. The guys who've already made it.
So is Walter the UK champ?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I imagine he still is after that match.
Well, I don't want to spoil it for you.
And I imagine that Dragunov, I don't have the network. I can tell that story, how I got rid of it. But I deleted it in 2017.
Never looked back.
Never, no. Yeah. But you recommend it, do you?
I will send it to you afterwards. I'll send you a link to it.
Okay.
It's definitely worth your going out of your way to watch it.
Okay.
I think it felt like a star-making performance. It really made a star out of Dragunov, who I didn't have any knowledge of whatsoever going into the match.
Okay.
Comes across great in that match.
I know him from his PWG stuff.
I didn't even know he was in PWG. I thought he was from Ringkampf in Germany.
Yeah, so he's done
WXW. Is that the German promotion?
Yes, so he's done stuff there. He's done stuff, I believe, in Progress, and then PWG. He was only there briefly before he signed to the Fed. He's got a cool look, and he's like the thing I loved about him is his intensity.
Oh yeah, well, it definitely comes across in this match.
Okay,
want to see some fighting spirit and just do not say die attitude. This is definitely the match to watch, so I will send you a link to it.
Oh, nice.
Cool. So I think that's about time we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Another one in the can, Aiden. Oh, of all those ones that are already in the can, here's another one.
Yeah. When people look back at this episode, they're going to say that was definitely an episode that happened one time.
Yep. Cool. So for our listeners, thank you for joining TaylorMade Aiden Taylor, Bulletproof Benjamin Black. We've been getting to Graps with. Oh yeah, we also need to design an outro at some point.
Oh, we could just do the SmackDown theme.
Yeah.